Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Environmental Justice Now. My name is Leah Jones, and I am the Education and Organizing Coordinator here at Virginia Interfaith Power and Light. Before we get started today, I'd like to do a brief land acknowledgement. And while we are on a video call and many of us are joining in from different places, we want to remind ourselves that we gather on the unceded land of the indigenous peoples. I am joining in from so-called Richmond, Virginia, and I am currently located on the land of the Powhatan and Chickahominy peoples. If you are unsure of whose land that you are on and you would like to find out, you can visit native-land.ca to find out. So welcome to another episode, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in again today. On the show this week, we'd like to really switch gears now and start a discussion on landfills here in Virginia. In communities across the state, we can recognize what in many ways seems like a pattern of landfills impacting vulnerable communities. Black, brown, and low-income communities are frequently faced with similar negative impacts from landfills across the state. So today we wanted to talk about these environmental justice implications we have seen in some of the examples that we see in the state, at least just start this discussion, right? And today, of course, as usual, I have Kades Gabray. How are you doing today, Kades?
Hi, Leah. It's always great to be on the show. I'm doing well, and we're here to kind of switch up the gear from the General Assembly to talk about issues that are happening in our communities, which is always good to know, but not really exciting to talk about. But I'm glad to be here.
Right, exactly. Not the best thing to be talking about, but excited to share with you all. So I think just to start our discussion, maybe let's just give a little background information on what landfills are. So landfills today are designed for receiving construction and demolition debris, CDD, or also known as municipal solid waste, known as MSW. Construction and demolition debris is waste from old structures when torn down or leftover materials from new construction. Concrete, dirt, tree stumps, drywall, and other materials are hauled to a landfill, while metal and other items which are economical to recycle are sorted out, and the remainder is compacted to create an artificial hill. Because liquid waste is not accepted at such landfills, the rest of the contents migrated offsite is minimized. So modern landfills receiving municipal solid waste are engineered and built in a series of these cells. These are designed to isolate the contents of the cells from the groundwater. The cells include liners of plastic membranes and watertight clay on the bottom, which unfortunately can often leak, threatening our groundwater. At the end of the day, the earth covers the trash deposited in the cell to keep animals away from the trash. So the one example we'll be discussing today, we'll share a bit more about later, is a landfill that opened in an old limestone quarry back in 1988. In total now, by 2020, so actually in total in 2020, Virginia had 45 solid waste landfills still in operation. There were 134 separate counties and cities in 2020. So obviously solid waste management was now a regional operation. And I think one of the most important factors to note here is that waste is actually used as a commodity and is transported across state lines, oftentimes bringing in trash and waste from places that aren't even coming from Virginia, so other states across the nation. So these landfills are also privately owned landfills and can be seen as competitive businesses. Some mega landfill operators generate revenue by contracting with jurisdictions and other states as well, like I was just mentioning. Now, I think Kades can talk a little bit more about one example that we can have mentioned before actually on EJ Now. Like this.
Thanks, Leah, and thanks for breaking down the structures of landfills because it becomes relevant in the example that we're going to share. So, in 1998, the city of Bristol, Virginia, opened a landfill in an old rock quarry. So, the site accepts households and commercial waste, tires, brush, yard waste, and e-waste. Residents living nearby say they've dealt with a lot of pollution for years, though it has intensified since 2019. Bristol officials have been working to fix the municipal structural problems at the landfill. However, record keeping there are a lot of record keeping errors and poor communication between city staff and consultants, which has kind of slowed down the process. The landfill has violated state permits over the past year, as well as there's a chemical reaction occurring deep inside the waste, causing it to heat up. And it being a quarry landfill makes it easy to kind of leak into the water table since there was a water structure before this landfill was built on top of it. So because of the chemical reaction occurring deep inside the waste that is causing a lot of leakage of pollutant gases into the air, and even these leakages have foul smelling odor to them, and they cause air pollution as being specifically leaked from linked to the city's landfill, affecting peoples in both Bristol and nearby areas since Bristol is on the Tennessee border. So, multiple chemicals were found in the air samples gathered in 2020 and 2021 by the City of Bristol, Virginia, and the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality, as well as the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. However, from these samples, none of them have been labeled uh, as detected at levels known to be hazardous to human health. However, that doesn't mean that they cannot make you sick or make you feel sick or those or your children and your pets sick. So although the data from state officials point the other direction, the stories and the experiences of the residents are showing us that the cumulative impacts of all chemicals added together has been causing severe health impacts on the community. So the chemicals from the landfill that's being exposed to the residents include benzene. Benzene is a sweet-smelling chemical, not super sweet because it does stink, known to have to cause cancer, and it's also found in gasoline and cigarette smoke. And if detected at levels up to 15% or higher than what is normal for an outdoor air um, in the US, can really be labeled as acute exposure and can cause drowniness, dizziness, irregular heartbeat, headaches, tremors, confusion, and chronic exposure can cause anemia, excessive bleeding, leukemia, and other types of cancer. And this is one of the chemicals that the residents have been exposed to. And another chemical is hydrogen sulfide. This is a colorless, toxic, flammable gas, and an acute exposure can cause nausea, headaches, skin and eye irritation, and repeated or prolonged exposure can cause low blood pressure, ataxia, which means the lack of muscle coordination. And another gas that's polluting the air is methylene mercaptane. And this is also another colorless gas that smells like rotten cabbage. And its acute exposure can cause coughing, chest tightness, skin and eye irritation, and dizziness. And so the true amount of methylene in the air is unknown. And this was determined by the independent toxicologist Laura Green, who was hired by Bristol, Tennessee. So the existing air samples don't have reliable data for the gas of methylene. However, this can be also said true for other gases that are in the air that the state officials and the city officials are unable to capture and study. So we will kind of dive into the specific health impacts of this landfill. However, all these gases together and their symptoms are very obvious in the residents that we connected with and have met with at Bristol, from both Tennessee and the Virginia side.
Right. And absolutely. I think it's great that you pointed out again that people, residents on both the Tennessee and Virginia side are feeling these effects, definitely at different degrees in some cases or in a lot of cases, but across the board, we can see that there are negative health impacts, period. And they've actually shown to be quite visceral and directly affected, which we'll be able to share a little bit more about with a clip from one of the residents who was able to share a bit more about their own experience at a press conference that we held back on the 15th. So things like headaches and migraines, sinus issues, and eye and throat irritation, nausea, vomiting, coughing, difficulty breathing, even dizziness and fatigue, something as extreme as nosebleeds as well, insomnia, because folks couldn't sleep at night because the odor was so foul, they felt like they couldn't breathe, anxiety, or even feelings of helplessness, I feel like in many cases, because it's nowhere to go, especially if you don't have the option or the ability to afford a place like a hotel to maybe take a break from the odor for a night, or purchase a lot of air filters for your home, because those expenses add up, right? So I think that we can take the time now to share the video that I mentioned of a resident there named Erica, who has really cute children that we were able to meet.
Knopflin. I'm pastor of Household of Faith Community Church. I'm also the president of the Bristol Area Ministry Alliance. Consists of ministers all over the city that we come together once a month, every first Saturday of the month. I'm here to tell you about my experience with the landfill. I visited my daughter in her complex where she lives, which is close to the landfill, extremely close. And I would take my granddaughters to the playground that is out there. We would go out at least 4 times out of the week. I'm visiting. Here comes Nanny. And we go to the playground and we played. And there's a dumpster not far from where my daughter's apartment is. And I told her, you need to tell the managers that there's a foul odor coming from that dumpster, and you need to report that. I said, because every time I come over here, my eyes are burning, the kids are suffering, want to go back into the house, my throat is sore. I said, I can't keep coming over here if this dumpster is causing all this havoc on us. Come to find out, it was not the dumpster, it was the landfill. And the intense of the odor and gases had grown to the point to where my sinuses are under attack. I can't go over there in that area today because of the effect that it has on me. I drove here the long route because I cannot go the shortcut way, cutting through close to where the landfill is. People are suffering. My grandbaby's suffering. They went back and forth to the urgent care different times, and my daughter will come after me to explain that. But the times that we have had to go running back and forth to the urgent care, and they checking for COVID-19, they're checking for upper respiratory, and they're saying, oh, there's nothing here. But I have something to tell you. It wasn't long after the urgent care started reporting that they're getting the odor inside of the building as well. And so it is affecting all of us throughout the city. It's causing a lot of havoc throughout the city. Yes, we want to see it to stop. We want it to close. We want it shut down. We want it now, but we know that now is not in the future. We know that they're doing everything that they say that they can by the experts. But the experts have to be right on this one. We cannot drop the ball. We pray and we urge all of you that if you have any complaints or anything that you want to say about this landfill, come and tell your stories. I now can visit my grandkids because they were blessed to move in Bristol. Others don't have that luxury to be able to just pack up and move across town. Have you ever looked for housing in Bristol? Exactly. There is none. It's very hard to come by. And so my prayers are with those that are around the landfill, the black, the brown, the low income, those that don't have the means to do so. The fight is on. We need to stop these landfills and these neighborhoods being affected by the decisions of leadership.
So that awesome call to action was actually from Jackie Nolfin, who is one of the faith leaders at Community Life or Faith Community Household of Faith Community Church out in Bristol. So she is also actually the mother of Erica, who is the woman I was just mentioning, and she was mentioning her grandbabies who were suffering in the video. So if that isn't enough, we can clearly see, even just from what Jackie was mentioning in her shared experience, that the community and this issue has been disproportionately impacting Black and low income communities, as well as overall lowering the quality of life for many of the residents there in Bristol, as well as decreasing the property value of the area there, making it a place that is difficult to live and want to stay in. Ultimately, some facts just on the board on this issue are that between May 2021 and February 2022, the city has received over 6,000 complaints and has spent $3.2 million in repairs for the landfill, as well as received 5 violations in 2021 from Virginia regulators. As well, lastly, the landfill has created a $34,000 million debt for the city. So, in addition to the egregious list of health impacts that it has had on the residents, there's also these real life numbers that have negatively, we can see have negatively impacted the city as far as the economy goes for the city of Bristol. So with all that being said, I think it's time now to bring it to a close and talk about action and what we have going on to oppose this landfill. Kadesh?
Yeah, thanks, Leah. We'll be shortly sharing ways that you can join us in action to Bristol, as well as ways you can stand in solidarity by signing the petition for Bristol. And so, one of the ways that you can definitely stand in solidarity with the community is at the community and faith leaders fact-finding delegation to Bristol City that's happening on Tuesday, March 29th at 10 a.m. Community leaders, in collaboration with Virginia Interfaith Power and Light and the Virginia chapter of the Sierra Club, will hold a faith and community leaders fact-finding delegation on the Bristol City landfill on Tuesday, like I said, March 29th at 10 a.m. The event is a gathering of faith and community leaders to discuss the impact of the Bristol City landfill on their community, and participants will tour the neighborhoods near the landfill and hear from the community members about the adverse health impact and the quality of life impacts caused by the landfill. We will also learn from experts and city representatives about the progress for resolving the air quality problem, and to really highlight the fact that we will be leaving from the Richmond area on a bus together. So you are not expected to drive all the way to Bristol. We will provide transportation via chartered bus. So we really are excited to get on the bus with faith leaders and head down to Bristol to really stand in solidarity with the community. Also, just a couple months ago, we were able to have a few of the faith leaders who have been leading the fight opposing the landfill on the EJ now, where they were able to share their experiences and how their community has been negatively affected by the landfill. Today, we would like to encourage you to join this effort while also hearing a bit more about landfills and cumulative impacts. At the Bristol, well, fact finding delegation to Bristol on March 29th at 10 a.m. If you are interested in riding with us, please feel free to contact us. And if March 29th is not the day you can be with us, we hope that you will sign the petition that VIPL has and share it with your network. You should be able to see that petition in the comments. But we will also encourage you to donate to the Bristol Fund to help members purchase air purifiers and replacement filters, and to give on uh, to give to and to donate to the Bristol City. I believe the fund, yeah, the Bristol Fund is what it's called. Please make sure you look at the link on the screen or in the comments. So those are the ways that you can really stand in solidarity with the folks in Bristol, even if you cannot make it on March 29th at 10 a.m. for the fact-finding delegation. If you're interested in heading out, we'll definitely be driving a little bit early in the AM, so please make sure you reach out to us and contact us if you're interested. And you can also sign up with the RSVP link that was on the screen and in the comments. So thank you so much, and I think that's all we have for today's show.
Yeah, that's it for today's show. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in as usual. We hope you learned something about landfills today here in Virginia, and we hope to see you at the fact finding delegation or on next week's episode. All right, bye.